For the surface value of the opening of the border, it shows that ECOWAS is ready to dialogue. ECOWAS is willing to listen to those three countries. Remember that ECOWAS started out from the point of threat, threat of invasion, closure of borders, financial exclusion, and so on and so forth. And as my older brother, Mr. Okengu said, they called the bluff of ECOWAS. And I said, when that very particular incident happened, what I said was that the joke is on Nigeria and ECOWAS because they are a step ahead of ECOWAS. By declaring that they are no longer members of ECOWAS, they're taking the diplomacy and everything related to the issue of restoration of constitutional order to another level. Now, what we're talking about is normalization of relationship between these countries and ECOWAS. Instead of discussing when will democracy return to these countries, we show that whoever is the advisor, whoever is the thinker behind what they're doing is very strategic, and they've inflicted strategic pain on ECOWAS because what ECOWAS wanted to do was to muzzle them as if they are local, some sort of local government under ECOWAS, and they resisted it by saying that look, we're a sovereign nation and we have our own decisions to make based on our interests. So if what we're doing is not appealing to you and is appealing to our people and we have the support of our people, go to hell. And that was the situation. I think we should contextualize this very particular discussion by apportioning accolades to whoever is due to receive them. I must congratulate General Gawon as one of the surviving founding fathers for wading into the crisis to say, look, if we want to have any headway, you don't just impose sanctions on the people, on a nation that is sovereign, and you think that those nations will come begging. What needed to be done is to make sure that these sanctions are entirely taken away, and then we can start discussion from there. And I think that is what we are seeing. But then there is something that I want us to consider, what I would call cautious optimism. What do I mean by that? While we are here saying that the borders have been opened, the Nigerian junta, Mali, and Burkina Faso, are they really, really willing to return back to ECOWAS based on what they've seen, based on the threat they've received? And for the fact that if you listen carefully to the head of the junta in Niger, the narrative out there is that ECOWAS is doing the biddings of France, and that ECOWAS has deviated from its Pan-African status of championing cooperation, trade, and then promoting free movement of goods and services across borders to doing the biddings of France. And with that, I'm sure the damage has been done. So what we are likely to see is at what point and at what rate, in terms of the degree of acceptance that will bring these people back to the fold of ECOWAS. And are they willing to come back to ECOWAS? Since they said ECOWAS is doing the biddings of France.
Yeah, but I'm still going to stay with you there. Mr. Emeka Okengo said that between the dialogue now is between, Nigeria and Niger as two independent countries. And the question he asks is, have Niger opened their borders, In the first place, there's conversations that the sanctions shouldn't have happened in the first place. The call for military action against Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali shouldn't have happened in the first place. I've read a lot of your write-ups on issues like this, and I believe you're a proponent of saying that there should have been no sanctions in the first place. And now ECOWAS is backtracking. What message is this sending to other African countries who think, well, we can have a coup and get away with it too?
Coup is forbidden. At a point in Nigeria, it was coup that brought constitutional order to Nigeria. When things were messed up, it was the military that stepped up. And whatever the politicians who in this country is the military that usually come to reset the process. The constitution we are talking about today, who gave us the constitution? Was it the politicians? And now, you see, let us get something very straight. According to Lord Acton, he said it's not the system of government that matters. It is the welfare of the people under such a government. I can't remember China practicing multi-party democracy, but the people are doing better. In Rwanda, the same thing. It all depends on what is what for the people. We're not saying that if people wanted a constitutional order, they should not be given. It has to be the demand of the people. And now, considering these countries that we're talking about, these are countries that have been in poverty, that have been, in the name of constitutional democracy, these countries have been in crisis from poverty to insurgency to massive killings, and the politicians are not helping matters. And it's stepped up. Now, what has been happening in Africa is that the politicians create problems for the military to confront. And it's still the same thing that is happening. From 1999 to date in Nigeria, we're facing insurgency, we're facing banditry, we're facing all sorts of criminal happenings in this country, just like across sub-Saharan Africa. And now the military have come to say, okay, we want to restore order and we need time to do that. And the people are not complaining. This is my point. If I did mean they took away power and the people are protesting, they needed outsider mediation to restore constitutional order. I think for me, it is the voice of the people. I will support that. But the people are even jubilating. Look at what is happening in Senegal. You took power without any resistance from Abdoulaye Wade, and then from what we're seeing, you want to extend your tenure, and the people are saying, no, we can't extend your tenure, we won't allow that, and the people are on the street protesting. So you don't create problems and you now said that the people are the problem or the military are the problem. This is one point we needed to get. And then for ECOWAS, what I had wanted ECOWAS to do was to, okay, listen to these people carefully, engage the junta, engage the people, let them see the need to restore constitutional order. And as you rightly asked from the studio, who is benefiting the more in terms of the relationship between Nigeria and Niger? Remember, Niger is a very strategic location in sub-Saharan Africa, considering where we are placed. From River Niger, where we are getting our electricity, to the grains, to the our protein requirement in terms of animals, to equally fighting the insurgency and the free flow of small weapons and light weapons into this country. So Niger is a very strategic partner in the overall fight against insecurity. And then you cannot strategically cause those kind of people pains by saying that you want to restore constitutional order. And then at what expense? If today the Nigerians decided that they are no longer going to join Nigeria to fight against the insurgency, I bet you the little peace we are enjoying in the Northeast will be taken away from us. So Niger is very strategic, and that is why we are saying that, look, no matter what we want to do, let it be under ECOWAS. But when it became obvious that Nigeria is preparing to invade Niger, and then people started screaming, no, you can't do this, then it means that there is a axe to grind from Nigeria's side against Niger than within ECOWAS. If all of this happened within ECOWAS, nobody would have raised any eyebrow, because we have traditional relationship to protect between us and Niger. If not for colonial incursion, there was no boundary between Niger and Nigeria as it were, especially in northern Nigeria.
Dr. Hamisu, I'm tempted to stay with you on this. The decisions that were taken by Nigeria, where it's ECOWAS at this particular time, is there anything extra outside what was decided by ECOWAS?
I couldn't differentiate between what Nigeria was doing and what ECOWAS was doing. Remember, it was Nigerian government, it was widely reported that mooted the idea of invading Niger. I didn't get that from ECOWAS. But in terms of sanctions, yeah. And maybe I wanted to say this, and I've said it severally, that the president must have acted based on the fact that he was relatively new in office. He did not understand most of these things, that, okay, there is a clear distinction between the president of Nigeria talking and talking under the authority of ECOWAS. So if he had spoken that ECOWAS will be, or the decision was taken at the level of ECOWAS to invade Niger, that would have been a different thing. But when he spoke as the president of Nigeria, saying that Niger needed to be invaded, then he's acting as the president of Nigeria, not the authority that is embodying. So these are some of the blunders that were committed earlier on that we were saying was not supposed to be there. Because if there is anything, Nigeria ought to be the diplomatic back channel to resolve the crisis, because we stand to lose in terms of what is happening than gaining from the sanctions and everything.
We'll get back here in